Okay, so get this today. We're diving into the world of Ray Kurzweil. And let me tell you, this guy, he doesn't just predict the future. He predicts a future where technology, it like takes us way beyond, anything we've ever imagined, a place he calls the singularity.
Yeah, and it's not like your typical end of the world as we know it scenario. Kurzweil, he's not talking about robots suddenly taking over. No, he's talking about like this period of crazy fast technological advancement, so fast that it changes, like fundamentally changes what it means to be human.
And the crazy thing is, this isn't some, sci-fi writer. This is a guy with a like scary good track record. I mean, come on. He predicted the internet, computers beating chess masters. I mean, back then that seemed impossible.
He's not just making lucky guesses, though. His book, The Singularity Is Near, it's like packed with arguments based on this idea of, get this, accelerating returns. It's this idea that technology, especially information technology, it's not just getting better, it's getting better at a faster and faster rate. It's like, whoa.
So instead of just like climbing a hill, it's like we're on a roller coaster and all of a sudden, boom, we're shooting straight up.
Exactly. Think about like the internet. One minute it's this geeky thing that only like professors and stuff are using. Then bam, the next minute it's like blowing up, changing how we live, how we work, how we connect with everyone. That's speed. That's accelerating returns in action.
And this isn't just, computers and the internet, right? I mean, look at how much DNA sequencing costs have like dropped. It's insane. Like going from paying a fortune for a, first class plane ticket to like hitching a ride on a spaceship for the price of a cup of coffee. It's unbelievable.
And honestly, that's just the start. Kurzweil, he says this whole accelerating thing, it applies to almost every field that involves information technology bandwidth, how small they can make those devices, the crazy amount of power they can pack into a tiny chip. It's all going up, up, up.
Okay, so we're talking insane speed here, but where is it actually taking us? Kurzweil, he lays out these like 6 epochs of evolution, kind of like a roadmap to like visualize how we might get to this crazy future he's describing.
The main idea here is that each epoch is a big jump in, like complexity and order. It starts with physics and chemistry, then biology and DNA, then brains show up. Each stage is like it builds on the one before it, setting up an even bigger leap forward.
And that brings us to Epoch 4, right? Technology. That's us right now. But Kurzweil, he doesn't stop there. Oh, no. He's got Epoch 5, and it's this wild merger of human technology with, get this, human intelligence. He calls it the singularity.
And if that wasn't enough, he then goes on to describe Epoch 6. This is where the intelligence that it came from the singularity, it's like spills out into the entire universe, which leads to, and I'm quoting him here, the universe waking up.
Whoa, 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 hold on a sec. We're going from like crazy fast internet to like the universe waking up, becoming conscious. That's a pretty big jump. So how do we get from here, today to this mind-bending future? What are the key technologies that Kurzweil believes will like actually drive us towards this singularity thing?
It always comes back to like information technology. Think about Moore's law. It's not just about transistors getting smaller. It's about the entire world computing power, like doubling every single year. That's insane. That's incredibly fast growth.
It's like, when you buy the latest smartphone and then like 2 seconds later, it's already old news, except this time it's happening to everything all the time, always getting faster, smaller, more powerful.
Yeah. And that principle, that exponential growth, it's not just computer chips. We're seeing it in like how fast and cheap DNA sequencing is getting, the bandwidth of the internet, even how small they can make the gadgets we carry around. It's all like proof of this crazy acceleration that Kurzweil's talking about.
So we've got all this computer power, right, like exploding all around us. But where do like actual humans fit into all of this? I mean, what happens to us in this future where like AI is calling the shots?
Kurzweil, he's convinced that if we want to like get where humans fit in all of this, we got to understand the most complex thing we know, the human brain. He actually thinks that if we really want to make super advanced AI, we got to reverse engineer the brain, figure out how it works.
And the good news is it seems like scientists are like making crazy progress with brain research these days.
Totally. There's this technology, TPLSM. And get this, we can watch the brain in action. And I mean, really see it working with like unbelievable precision. It's like, imagine seeing individual synapses firing, in real time. Like it's like having front row seats to the most amazing show ever.
That's incredible. But the brain, I mean, come on, it's like notoriously difficult to understand. Are we even close to figuring out how it all works?
True, true. The brain is still like a giant mystery in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But scientists, they are, making progress. Like they're modeling and simulating different parts of the brain and how they work. For example, we're like starting to crack the code on the cerebellum. That's the part that controls movement and balance and all that.
So as we learn more about the brain, we can like start making AI that's more human-like.
Yeah. Kurzweil thinks we're on our way to strong AI. Artificial intelligence that's like smarter than humans in every way. But how do we actually get there? He thinks of it as like the next step from the narrow AI we have now, the kind we use every day.
So like those computers that can beat chess masters but can't like write a song or like tell a joke.
Yeah, exactly. They're like really good at one thing, but they don't have like the general smarts and adaptability of a person. But Kurzweil, he figures once AI gets to human level intelligence, watch out, because it'll quickly zoom past us, learning and changing at warp speed.
Okay, so now I'm imagining a computer that's not just as smart as a human, but like a million times faster at, learning and stuff. That's a little freaky, to be honest. But okay, let's say the strong AI, it actually happens. Then what? Do we just like say, here you go, take the wheel, hope it goes well?
That's where Kurzweil brings in another like mind-blowing technology, nanotechnology. And he doesn't just see it as like building teeny tiny gadgets. No, he thinks it's the ultimate tool to like completely change medicine, manufacturing, even our own bodies.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Give me a glimpse into this like nano future.
Picture this. Microscopic robots, nanobots swimming through your veins, fixing damage, like cell by cell, being your own personal immune system, even replacing your organs when they wear out.
Hold on, so no more heart transplants, just a bunch of tiny robots, like rebuilding my heart from the inside. Sign me up. Now that's what I call healthcare.
Sounds pretty sci-fi, right? But researchers, they're already making like huge progress with nanomedicine. And Kurzweil, he's convinced this is just the beginning. He sees a future where we use nanotechnology not just to like fix ourselves, but to actually make ourselves better, stronger, in ways we can't even imagine right now.
This is seriously cool stuff. But gotta be honest, this level of technology, it's a little, I don't know, intimidating. Does Kurzweil talk about like what could go wrong?
He knows that any technology this powerful, there are going to be risks. He even talks about the gray goo scenario, which is basically where self-replicating nanobots, they just like consume everything in their path. But Kurzweil, he thinks we can put safeguards in place, like a broadcast architecture, something that would stop the nanobots from like replicating out of control.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. But even if we can control the tech, there's still this question of like, what happens to humans? I mean, if we're merging with machines, maybe living forever, what does it even mean to be human in that kind of world?
That's a big question, and it goes to like the core of what Kurzweil is talking about. He thinks that the lines between humans and machines, between like the real world and virtual reality, they're going to keep getting blurrier and blurrier, and it's going to lead to a whole new way of being human.
So not just living in a digital world, but like actually becoming part of it.
Exactly. Kurzweil, he sees a future where, get this, we can upload our consciousness, everything about our minds, into something non-biological. Imagine existing as a digital being, free from all the, limitations of a physical body.
My brain is officially fried. So we upload our minds, become digital beings. Then what? What do we do with like all that digital existence?
Okay, here's where it gets like really interesting. Imagine being able to create new bodies for ourselves, but not just any bodies, bodies that are, way more durable and adaptable than our current, meat suits.
Hold on. So we're talking like swapping bodies, like we change clothes. New look for every occasion. That's insane.
And it gets wilder. Kurzweil thinks nanotechnology, it'll let us actually manipulate reality itself. Like we could create anything we can imagine. The lines between real and virtual, totally gone.
Okay, this is next level stuff, but before we get ahead of ourselves, how do we even get to that point? Like, how do we go from, scanning brains to actually uploading our entire consciousness?
Kurzweil says the key is understanding how the brain works, like down to the tiniest detail. We got to map every neuron, every connection, everything that makes us, us.
And that's where those advanced brain scans come in, right?
You got it. Stuff like TPLSM is crucial, but Kurzweil thinks we'll need even more powerful tools to map the entire brain. Once we've got them, he sees it as like a gradual process, transferring our memories, skills, personalities, everything to something non-biological.
But would that digital copy actually be me? Or just like a really, really good copycat?
That's a question philosophers have been debating forever. It gets into the whole like, what is consciousness? What does it mean to be human? And there are no easy answers. But Kurzweil, he seems pretty sure that our consciousness, the essence of who we are, would survive the transfer.
Mind-blowing, to say the least. So, okay, let's say we figure out this mind-uploading thing. We're all living in this, like, super advanced digital world. But what about the rest of the universe? Where does it fit into all of this?
Kurzweil believes that intelligence, no matter where it comes from, whether it started here or somewhere else, will eventually spread out from Earth and, basically colonize the universe. He sees it as the next logical step in evolution.
Whoa. So not just astronauts on Mars, but, like, the entire universe filled with intelligence.
Exactly. He's talking about using nanotechnology to create these probes that can, like, make copies of themselves. They'd travel to other stars, spreading intelligence everywhere they go. It's a vision of a universe that's just teeming with life, a universe that's, like, waking up.
That's both amazing and kind of terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff, but what about the bad? I mean, what could go wrong with all of this?
Kurzweil knows that any technology this powerful has, like, a dark side. He doesn't ignore those concerns. He says, we got to face them head on.
So what are, like, the biggest challenges on the road to this singularity? What should we be worried about?
One of the biggest things is, like, unintended consequences. You're messing with powerful stuff like AI and nanotechnology. Even a small mistake could be a disaster.
Right, like that gray goo thing we talked about before?
Exactly. And then there's the question of control. How do we make sure these super intelligent machines don't, decide to go all Terminator on us? How do we keep them from, like, turning against us?
That seems to be, like, the big question in a lot of sci-fi movies.
It might seem like a movie plot, but it's a real concern that, like, really smart people are trying to figure out right now. And it's not just about rogue AI. It's also about, what happens to humans in a post-singularity world.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier. What does it mean to be human when we're merging with machines, uploading our minds, maybe living forever?
These are deep, deep questions about, like, what it means to exist. Kurzweil doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but he does think that the singularity, it's going to change what it means to be human in ways we can't even begin to imagine.
That's a lot to, like, unpack. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's talk about some of the specific problems Kurzweil talks about. He's got these three main areas of tech development: genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics. He calls them GNR.
He sees these three technologies as, like, merging together, each one making the others even more powerful. And while he thinks they have the potential to solve a lot of the world's problems, he also says they could be really dangerous.
Okay, let's break it down. Let's start with genetics. What could go wrong there?
Kurzweil, he's worried about, like, engineered pathogens. Imagine viruses that are designed to be super contagious or super deadly.
So not just natural pandemics, but ones that are, like, man-made on purpose.
That's the fear. And it's not just, like, evil masterminds we have to worry about. Accidents happen. One little mistake in a lab could be really bad.
Yeah, that's definitely something to worry about. Okay, what about nanotechnology? We talked about the gray goo scenario, but what else is there?
Kurzweil is also concerned about nanotechnology being used to make autonomous weapons, basically. Tiny robots that can kill people.
That's a scary thought. Like something out of a nightmare.
Might sound like science fiction, but it's something that's being researched right now.
Okay, so we've got engineered plagues and, like, swarms of killer nanobots. What about robotics? What's the scariest possibility there?
For robotics, Kurzweil's biggest fear is unfriendly AI, artificial intelligence, that either doesn't care about humans or is actively hostile to us.
So, like, Skynet from the Terminator movies?
That's Hollywood's version, sure, but the reality could be more subtle. As AI gets smarter, we have to make sure it's still on our side, that it still shares our values.
Sounds like a tall order. So how do we actually deal with all of this? Does Kurzweil have any, like, solutions?
Kurzweil's not saying we need to stop all technological progress. He's all for progress. He just says we got to be careful, got to think ahead. He wants us to be proactive to create safeguards along with the technologies.
Okay, so what kind of safeguards are we talking about?
He's got a lot of ideas. Things like international treaties, agreements between countries to regulate AI and nanotechnology. He also thinks it's important to research friendly AI.
So the message is we got to be really, really careful with this stuff.
Exactly. We can't just focus on the good stuff. We have to think about what could go wrong and how to stop it. There's a lot at stake.
It's like we're walking this tightrope between, like, an amazing future and total disaster. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But the first step is just talking about it. Being aware of both the good and the bad that comes from these new technologies.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground. accelerating returns, the singularity, mind uploading, virtual reality, colonizing space, and of course, all the dangers of genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics. Anything else about Kurzweil's vision of the future we need to know about?
Okay, so be careful, but also be ready for a future that's like right around the corner. But there's one thing about Kurzweil's vision. I'm still not quite getting this whole universe waking up thing. It's like, is he talking about a cosmic consciousness or something? It's definitely a big idea, that's for sure. What Kurzweil's saying is that intelligence, whether it's, us here on Earth or something out there, it could actually like spread throughout the entire universe. And I mean, he thinks it could transform everything, change it from just like a bunch of stars and planets and stuff into something way more, I don't know, something way more significant.
So it's not just about us getting smarter, it's about the universe itself becoming like a thinking, conscious being.
Exactly. He's saying that intelligence and the fact that it can spread and evolve, it's like a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. It's a pretty wild idea.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, you know? Makes you wonder, like, what would happen to us humans in this awakened universe? Would we even be human in the same way?
Kurzweil doesn't shy away from those questions.
Yeah.
He imagines a future where the lines between human and machine, biological and non-biological, they get like completely blurred. It's hard to even imagine what that would be like.
It's like trying to picture a new color, something you've never seen before, you know? Exciting, but kind of freaky too. Okay, but let's like bring it back down to earth for a sec. This is all fascinating and stuff, but it also feels so far out there. How does Kurzweil think this whole transformation will actually go down?
Kurzweil is betting on technology just continuing to get more and more advanced, faster and faster. He sees a future where we can use tech to solve all sorts of problems. Poverty, disease, climate change, you name it.
So like a utopia powered by technology.
That's the hope anyway. But Kurzweil also says that it's not all going to be smooth sailing. He thinks there will be setbacks, ethical dilemmas, maybe even some really, really bad stuff happening. He says the stakes are higher than ever before.
Which means we need to start getting ready for it, like now. But how do you even prepare for a future that's so uncertain, so different from anything we can even imagine right now?
Kurzweil's big on staying adaptable, on always being ready to learn new stuff. He says the skills that are important today might be useless tomorrow, so you got to be flexible, willing to change as the world changes.
So it's not just what you know, it's about being able to learn new things quickly.
Exactly. The people who will thrive in the future are the ones who are curious, who are always looking for new information, always learning new skills. That's going to be especially true for anything to do with technology programming, data analysis, that kind of stuff. The world's only going to get more digital, right?
Makes sense. But what about those of us who aren't, like, tech geniuses? Are there other skills that will be important besides just knowing how to code?
That's where the human element comes in, I think.
Yep.
Critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, those are the skills that will set us apart, even from the smartest AI.
So leave the spreadsheets to the robots, and we'll be the ones coming up with the big ideas.
That's the gist of it. Kurzweil's thinking is that once AI can do all the boring, routine work, humans will be free to focus on more creative and innovative stuff.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better about the robot takeover. But it still feels like we're standing on the edge of, like, the great unknown, you know? What can we actually do, like, today to get ready for this future Kurzweil's describing?
I think the most important thing is to engage with it. Start learning about all this new technology, read books, listen to podcasts like this one, take some online courses. There's a ton of information out there.
This podcast being a prime example. But seriously, you're right. The more we understand about all this tech, the less scary it seems.
And don't just be a spectator. Get your hands dirty, play around with AI tools, join some online projects, whatever. There are tons of ways to get involved and start shaping the future, like right now.
So it sounds like the message is, buckle up, stay curious, and never stop learning. That's what I'm taking away from this deep dive into Kurzweil's singularity.
Well said. The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we make. And the more we know, the more we engage, the better chance we have of building a future that's good for everyone.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If Kurzweil's right, and technology keeps changing everything so fast, what will your place be in that future? That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.